Right? Here.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Hi YouTube, it's the Forgetful Writer, and I am here to talk shop with you today. This video is going to be all about how to write a killer description for your Kindle Vella. What are some of the things you should do? What are some of the things you shouldn't do? And how do we get to a point where we get the readers jumping in to read our first and second and third episode and so forth? So let's talk descriptions. Your description is different with Kindle Vella because it can be only 500 characters, and that is really short. When you first get in there and try to work with it, for a lot of people, especially if you're used to being really wordy, it is hard to nail something down to such a small space, but you are going to want it to be short and punchy, straight to the point. You're going to drop all of the fluff out of it, as all of the fluff and everything is going to be in your story. That's all the extras. You don't need that in your description. Your description is that one thing that's going to grab them and pull those readers in. We want to have your theme and genre be really consistent with what else is selling within that theme and genre. So you want to run over and take a look at the other Kindle Vella stories that are, say you do post-apocalyptic. So go take a look, pull that tag up, see who's at the top, who's got some crowns, and you're going to want to read what their descriptions are. You don't want to copy it word for word because it's plagiarism, but you want to see, what do the readers in this group, what do they expect? What is the thing that gets them to want to read it? Do you read the description and think to yourself, God, I want to read this story? Well, you're going to want to mimic it, but without completely copying it. So you want it to be consistent for your genre and your theme. You also need to make sure to take a quick peek at your picture. It's got to scream what that theme and genre are, because that's the first thing that grabs people to go and take a look. That's going to even get them to look at your description in the first place. So it's really important. You're going to want to hook that reader. How do we hook the reader? And you're going to want to do it in the very first sentence. That first sentence cannot be something dull and boring. It's the first impression for your reader. A lot of times I'll use something simple like a question. For my Dark Awakening, I did, can a teenage girl save the world? It's a quick hook. It doesn't take up a lot of space, but it really gives you an idea of what the story's about. That story is about a 16-year-old girl suddenly wakes up and she has to try to save the world. So I say it right in the first sentence. People who like stories within that genre are going to know right away, this book's for me, this story's for me. Not saying you should always have a question, because that's not how these things work. You're going to have to take a look at what is your genre, what do the readers of that expect? What is the thing that draws them in? So that's why I say you definitely want to research. Take a look at what is selling and why you think it's selling. This is a good one. And I didn't do this one with mine yet, but I need to go back through. And the nice part about Vella is we can tweak and adjust where we're at with our stuff. You want to put your status in there. If it's completed, especially, because then you can do something as simple as this completed story or this ongoing story. The reader is going to know what they're getting in for. They're going to know, especially if it's completed, that is something to, toot your horn about, that it's done. They know they can sit and they can read it and it's ready to go. Another thing that I saw in one of my reviews was somebody put their release days in there. That's genius. I had it in my author's notes. And putting it in your description, this tells people coming, I know Monday, Wednesday, or 3 times a week, or just once a week, whatever. They know they can expect it. There's no surprises on that. Once they start reading, they've already got an idea. So they think that's a great selling point, is to give your status and your release days if it's still ongoing. So it's big stuff, because as a reader, I like to know. I want to know, am I putting a commitment into something that's just started? Am I putting a commitment into something that's finished? This is stuff the reader wants to know. The other thing is, and this is advice that I had somebody tell me years ago when I was doing my blurbs for my books, read them out loud. There's a function on your computer where you can put it in and it'll read it in a weird computer voice to you. Read it. Read it out loud. If you are stumbling over your words as you're trying to read your description, your reader is going to stumble over their words as they're reading your description. That is going to happen. That's how these things work. Not only you read it out loud, have a friend read it out loud. Have someone you know sit and take a look at what you wrote. You don't know if there's something that's coming off weird without having another set of eyes on it. It's especially good to have somebody edit it. Your description is not something that you should treat as an afterthought. It's a main part of your story. It's the very first thing that gets somebody to come in and read in the first place. So if you don't take the description seriously, if you don't look at this as something that's really important, it's not going to be something that's the best that can be out there. And it's the thing that you're showing everybody. So that gets me to the don'ts. No spoilers. Don't spoil your story and your description. I know you're proud of your spoilers. A lot of times we're really proud of that twist that we have. Don't tell your readers right in your description, because you've ruined it. You've taken away the part when they're reading the story when they can get excited about that. Oh my God. You want them to have that moment. That's the reason you wrote it in the first place. So I know it can be really hard to not give away the story, but don't give away the story. This isn't about sitting and telling everybody exactly what's going to happen from the very beginning, middle, and end of your story. It's just about getting people to click the read button. So it's an advertisement. It's not a book report, I guess is the best way of putting it. Definitely edit. Edit. Treat it just like it's a part of your story. You wouldn't send your story out unedited. You need to edit it. You're going to have people check for typos, and you're going to check for your grammatical errors, because if people see a description that has those simple issues in 500 characters, and you've got 3 misspelled words, and you don't have the correct punctuation, and your capitalization is off, and things, stupid stuff that just happens because we're busy and it happens. I don't know. I misspell stuff all the time. Thank God for Grammarly and my editor. But you don't want that to be the thing that you're showing everybody. You really need to treat your description like it is a extension of your story. And I've said it like 3 seconds ago, and I'm going to say it again. Do not treat your description like it's an afterthought. I know for a lot of people, myself included, that blurbs and descriptions are the thing we have the hardest time with. It's something, it's out there, we're tooting our own horn and we're trying to get people to read our stuff, and not all of us are completely comfortable with that portion of the business. A lot of us love telling stories. We're storytellers, but we don't like being story sellers, you know, and it feels weird trying to get people to read your stuff for money. Now, I'm not saying that about everybody. There's some people that are great at that, and I wish that was me, but it's not. So I get uncomfortable with the idea of buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. But this is what your description is. It's your buy my book moment, and it's the appropriate place for the buy my book moment. It's the appropriate, I'm tooting my own horn. This story is fantastic, and this is why you want to read it. I'm going to tell it to you in this quick little way. It's great. So, as a little bonus, I think that we all should have a 1-sentence reason why people should read our books. You are not just your description, but you're going to have people say to you, what's it about? Or what's your book? What's your story? Why should I read it? You get these like random little questions, and you could be like me and you get super wordy and you can't really describe your story in any kind of real way that makes any sense. If you have 1 sentence, with my one story on the many afterlives of John Robert Thompson, when it took me forever to be able to whittle that down to a thought. When people say, well, what's this book about? I mean, what are you trying to tell people? And it's what would happen if the world's most mediocre man died. That was the entire reason I wrote the book. And if I tell that to somebody and they look at me and they go, then I know that's not a book for them. But they go, what do you mean by that? Well, now I have more that I can expand on. So I think beyond writing your description, and while you're at it, if you can come up with that 1 sentence, and really honestly, that could even be your hook. If it's good enough, it could be your very first sentence in your description. And then this way, if anybody ever asks you, tell me about your story, you've got 1 sentence. one sentence to sell it to them at your elevator pitch. So that's my advice on how to write a killer description for Kindle Vella. If you have anything to add to it, throw it in the comments below. Like I said, I always love adding extra knowledge. Anybody's got anything that I didn't say, disagrees with what I say, or thinks that there's something that needs to be added, I want to have the conversation about it. I think that we grow as a group, and we're all here to help each other. You know, authors helping authors. So if you like this kind of content and you want more content on advice on how to do your Kindle Vella or KDP author business, just hit that like, smash that subscribe, and ring that little bell for the notifications. And other than that, I'll talk to you later. Bye.
This is the moment for those who